All right, if you're a PhD student or a researcher in tech, you've probably felt it. The ground is definitely shifting under our feet. You see, artificial intelligence isn't just another tool in the toolbox anymore. It's a force that is completely changing the game for what it even means to do high-level research.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Writing those dense technical papers, slogging through complex equations, generating simulations, the stuff that used to take months of intense, focused effort, well, a good chunk of that can now be done, at least to some degree, in a matter of minutes. And that changes everything about how we measure things like originality and expertise.
So, yeah, this brings us to the big, kind of uncomfortable question that's on a lot of people's minds. But hey, don't worry. The whole point of this explainer is to turn that anxiety into a real, actionable plan for success. We're going to break down exactly how to thrive in this new era.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of AI's impact and see why the old rules just don't apply anymore. Then we'll get specific about the high-risk research paths you really need to avoid. After that, we'll pivot to the new mission for every researcher, generating true understanding. From there, we'll explore the most promising AI-proofed areas to focus on, and then we'll wrap it all up with a clear playbook for your future-proof PhD.
So first things first, we have to accept a new reality. The very definition of what makes a PhD contribution valuable has been completely rewritten by AI. What used to be a clear sign of deep expertise is, well, it's not such a reliable indicator anymore.
This slide really paints a clear picture of that shift. Before AI, right, a super dense technical paper or a long, winding mathematical proof was solid gold. It was your badge of honor. But today, an LLM can generate that. Consistent simulation results used to be trusted. Now, an AI can cook up results that look perfect but are totally unrealistic. The focus has completely moved from the volume of your work to your conceptual ownership and your intellectual accountability for it.
Okay, so with these new rules in play, some of those classic, well-traveled research paths have suddenly become incredibly high risk. I mean, pursuing one of these for a PhD today is kind of like setting out on a road trip with a map from the 1980s. You're just not going to get where you need to go.
Now, what's really cool about this image is how it shows this great divide. On one side, you've got the automated, high-risk paths that are quickly becoming obsolete. But on the other, you've got these AI-resilient paths, where human judgment and critical thinking are actually more valuable than ever. Your job is to make sure you stay on the right side of this divide.
So let's break down those risky paths. First up, tiny incremental tweaks to existing algorithms. AI can search through design spaces and tune things way more efficiently than any human can. Second, studies that are only based on simulations. Without some connection to the messy real world, your results just lack credibility now. Third, descriptive surveys. Just summarizing what's already out there. LLMs are masters of summarization, so a human-led survey has to provide a totally new conceptual framework, not just a list. And finally, generic AI applications. Just applying a standard model to a new dataset is now seen as pretty low-impact automated work.
And just to make this super concrete, here are some classic topics that really aren't strong PhD projects on their own anymore. Things like comparing basic routing protocols or using classical metrics for code clone detection, or running standard clustering algorithms on benchmark datasets, or building old-school signature-based intrusion detection systems. These areas are either totally saturated or have just been leapfrogged by more advanced AI-driven methods. Okay, so if that's the list of what not to do, what's the alternative? This brings us to the real turning point and the new core value of all modern research. It's about moving away from just doing the work and toward deep intellectual ownership of it.
And this is the crucial point right here. AI is a phenomenal tool for speeding up the how, the execution part, but it cannot and it does not replace the why. It has no judgment, it takes zero responsibility for its output, and it doesn't truly understand the context or the implications of anything. That gap, that's where you, the human researcher, now live and thrive.
And this quote just nails the new mission. Look, anyone with an API key can generate results now. A PhD, however, is about producing trustworthy knowledge. It's about showing that you understand the problem, the assumptions, the limitations, and the implications of your work so deeply that your conclusions can actually be trusted. So, with that new mission in mind, let's look at the optimistic side of this story. Because there are huge, exciting, and incredibly valuable research areas where human intellect is not just relevant, it's absolutely essential. These are the AI resilient zones. First, problem formulation and assumption analysis.
This is about questioning why a problem is even framed a certain way to begin with. Second, real-world measurement. Work that's grounded in actual data from real systems that an AI can't just invent. Third, systems thinking and failure analysis. This means looking beyond a single component to see how the entire ecosystem works and why it breaks in surprising ways. And fourth, socio-technical research. This is where you get into the human element, how technology impacts society, policy, and ethics, areas where pure computation just falls flat.
And to build on that, the most valuable work you can do involves questioning everything. Why is this even the right problem to solve? Where, and more importantly, why, do our models fail? And instead of just writing papers, think about building durable things, new datasets, open-source simulators, platforms that the entire community can use and build upon. And definitely explore that interdisciplinary work that requires nuanced human judgment that AI simply doesn't have.
Okay, so let's pull all of this together into a clear, actionable playbook. How do you actually plan and execute a PhD that's going to be valuable not just today, but for your entire career?
It all starts with this one simple but incredibly powerful question. Before you commit to any research direction, you have to ask yourself this. Because I can promise you, your reviewers, your supervisors, and your future hiring committees are already asking it. If the answer is, yeah, probably, you need to find a deeper problem to solve.
So here's your three-step strategy. 1. Choose problems that require critical thinking, real-world validation, or complex systems-level insight, things that resist brute force automation. 2. Shift your mindset. The goal isn't to have the highest publication count anymore, it's to have the most defensible and insightful work. Quality over quantity is the new law of the land. And 3, be ready for tougher questions. Your assumptions, your validation methods, and your interpretation of the results are going to be scrutinized more heavily than ever before.
Ultimately, it all boils down to this. We now have machines that are incredibly good at generating answers. The enduring and now most critical value of a human researcher is the ability to ask the right questions, to challenge assumptions, and to build knowledge that can't just be generated by a prompt. That is how you'll shape the future of research, rather than be displaced by it.